Hey girl, welcome to Finding My Best Self, the podcast where it's totally okay to show up in your leggings and messy bun, because let's be real, that's our uniform here. The only rule is to be unapologetically yourself.
And I'm Mandy, and joining me is Pam, the queen of finding the silver linings. We're here to share laughs, tears, and everything in between. Think of us as your new best friends with some stories to tell and wisdom to share.
From face palms to victories, we're diving into the journey of self-discovery, wellness, and what it means to truly embrace who you are. So whether you're conquering the world or just trying to find your phone in the black hole, purse, we've got you covered.
Because here it's all about encouraging you to lace up those sneakers, or don't, we're not judging, and join us as we explore what it truly means to own your confidence and find your best self.
So pour yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Finding My Best Self. Today, I have with us, it is myself, Pam, and Mandy, and we have Katy Murray with us today. Katy, did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. I did not ask you how to pronounce your last name, but I have Katy Murray with me today. She is a business owner. She's an entrepreneur. She's a mama. She's a wife. She's received many awards over her career, and she just wears a lot of hats. So as if I would read everything that she put down for me, I was like, man, that's a lot, Katy. I don't know if I want to fully introduce you because I'd be reading for a few minutes. But Katy wears a lot of hats. So Katy, tell us a little bit more about each of your titles and what exactly you do in all your different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. And first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on the show, Mandy and Pamela. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to just have this conversation. So I started out as a photographer over a decade ago, and that's where kind of my entrepreneur journey started and where I found that I really love business. And I like photography, but I definitely love business. And I've gotten featured in like People magazine, and I did enterprises, brand photos, and things like that. So it's been a whirlwind and a super great experience. But now I actually am the co-founder of Katy & Co, which is a virtual assisting firm. So that's more so what we focus on in the business realm of things. And like you said, I'm a mama. I have a 4-year-old. I've been married for 12 years to an amazing husband. And I also am a full-time employee. So I'm an executive at a private organization. I'm the head of human resources. So I do kind of have a lot of different things going on there. But one thing, a way that I describe what I do is kind of like a triangle effect. So I'm a human resource professional. I run Katy & Co. I have my podcast, and I also have our photography business. But the center focus of everything is helping others. So Katy & Co. helps other businesses grow their business. KMP, which is my photography, is all about branding photos and supporting businesses. And then obviously human resources, I help people with their careers. And so even though it's like I'm over here and I'm over here and I'm over here and I'm over here, the center focus is people and helping them. So that's kind of how I explain all those things in that, long paragraph of a bio that I have.
I'm sitting over here like, man, I thought my life was busy and I thought I wore a lot of hats. And I'm like, I already know how hard it is for me to juggle everything. And I'm listening to you going, oh my God, how do you even function every day? That's all I can think about.
I don't. No, I'm just kidding. Depends on the day.
Real life. I don't. Yeah. I just try. And that, I think really and truthfully, though, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, right? Is that we try to do our best and to find the ways to juggle everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if I'd ask you this question right now, I'm sure you have a really good schedule and time blocking or something like that.
Yep, I absolutely love time management. I've actually been shifting a little bit to do more attention management because I'm finding at the end of a long day, it's hard to stick with my time block systems because I can't control time and you can't really technically manage time. So sometimes it's like, tonight I can't do it. I can't put into my business, or I can't this, or I can't that. And as a mama, some days you just can't because like the kids need extra attention or they need something. So I think the underlying tone is just giving myself grace and space to do what I need to do. But yeah, I do print out a time block schedule every day. I allocate times to do certain things, and that's how I mostly stay afloat.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love that. I have a schedule. I'm time blocking for these things. But if they don't happen in that amount of time, or if I'm not able to get them all done, then that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've never
It's
heard of it
taken a
like
while to
that.
get there.
Yeah, like attention blocking. I'm gonna have to use that. Or as people say, if it's not on my calendar, it didn't happen. I feel like that's literally where most of us are at this point, right? So if it's
Yeah.
not on your calendar, or we can't put our attention into it because we have to focus on these things. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's wild. I actually was at a retreat over the weekend for work for my day job, and we were there Friday through Sunday. And I was like, well, I'll be able to like have some alone time at night and get some stuff done. But the attention management for me didn't work. I didn't feel creative. So I kept sitting down to like write an episode for my podcast or to do this or to do this. And it's like, it wasn't coming. And I messaged my husband and I was like, this is so frustrating because I spent the last like 2 months being like, that weekend's going to be my weekend to get ahead and have time. But then I also didn't feel like reading a book. I didn't feel like doing anything really. And I had to take a quick step back and be like, that's okay. I'll go to bed early. I'll get some rest. So when I get home Sunday, I can be rejuvenated. And yeah, I didn't check any boxes, but I had to listen to my body. And it was like, girl, just stop. Yeah. These meetings are tiring you out. We can't do it. And I think for the most part, like if I really dove into it, I'd be like, I'm still a little disappointed, but I got to manage those feelings and it is what it is. And I got a little extra sleep over the weekend. So you got to roll with it. And that's something that actually has been a struggle for me throughout the years. And I'm getting more and more comfortable with it because I am former military. I'm very structured. I'm very like, this is what you do and you don't try, you just do. And I've had to like kind of release the reins a little bit and calm down a little bit and give myself that grace and that space to be like, meh, it's not happening today. There's always tomorrow.
God, I love that so much. You are like speaking to me very loudly right now, because that's something that I have been working on too for a while now. And it's because it's that type A personality of, I am such a scheduled person and, we have to be here at this time and be here at this time. But at the same time, I always feel like I am like, go, 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 which is why I ended up having to go. One of the reasons I ended up having to go see a doctor to be able to regulate my, hormones and cortisol levels and adrenal, because I was so burnt. I was staying here all the time, and then all of a sudden I would just crash. And it's that crash and burn that happens when you just feel like you always have to. But when you say like I wasn't in a creative state, like that hits, because there are the days when I feel like my brain is just on, and other days it's just not. And on those days, I'm just like, okay, well, I just can't do it today. Like, it's just not there. Like you said, it's just not there. Oh, well, like we'll try again tomorrow.
Yep.
Right.
And it takes a lot to get there. I feel like you do have to give that grace, because I'm like you, I'm a type A, like my boss at work all the time. He has 2 jokes about me. He's like, you're a control freak. And if it's after 4 p.m., I don't ask any hard questions. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like even Saturday, we were in like the dinner portion of one of our meetings, and he like asked me a question and my first 2 answers were totally wrong. And I didn't mean for that. I wasn't firing fast. And he looked at me, he's like, it's 7:30. Just never mind. And I was like, thanks. Yeah, because it's not coming. But, you get me in the morning or whatever. And you have to learn your body and learn, what is what. And I think one of the things that we often neglect, especially as powerhouse women like we are, is you forget that like your body's got to recoup. And if you don't give it the time, it will take the time. So like for you, Pamela, like having to go to the doctor, your body was like, girlfriend, you are not slowing down. So I'm going to make you. Like I imagine that was the conversation it was trying to tell you. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to slow down now. So trying to find that synergy so that you can still be high achieving, still get things done, but also let your body breathe is so, so impactful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like our bodies naturally do that. Like you said, they just kind of shut off because, I mean, even today I came home and I never take a nap, but it's literally like it caught up to me, took a 30-minute power nap and I felt like a totally different person. But normally I wouldn't even give myself that time because I have all these other things to do. My list for the day had me doing other things, but I just couldn't go anymore. And it's like I literally laid down and had a dream. That's how like asleep I was. And I woke up and then I was just able to to jump back into that space. Because like you said, even if you try and push through it, you're not going to be as strong or as cognizant of as you would have been if you didn't just let yourself rest or catch up on whatever you needed to do. So it is knowing your body and just navigating through that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a challenge. I think every day it's like learning it again and again. But
so if I know that you're talking about the being passionate through different things and navigating and changing gears, is there any specific like routine that you do that kind of helps you switch from one thing to the next? Because I know that you kind of dabble in everything.
yeah, I honestly take so much from each pillar and use it in each pillar. And at first I didn't realize this. Like earlier on when I was doing a lot and like working full time and then also trying to, manage the business and then having a kid thrown in there eventually was just a lot. And I thought that every single thing had to have its own structure, its own approach, its own routine. And I started to realize like these are all interchangeable. I can approach each one the same way that works for me. So today is like the worst example because basically I've dipped into all of my hats today. I had a photo shoot this morning. I photographed for a design firm. They do interior design projects and I photograph for them. And then I also went to work. Then I'm also recording this podcast. So today was just a day of like literally all the hats. But most days when I don't have every single thing in one day, I try to give myself space in the morning to really start off on the right foot. And for me, that's getting some movement in early on. I feel 10 times better, not only like self-esteem wise, but also just like I can conquer the day if I get movement early in the morning. And then I always shower. That's just like my reset, my refresh every single morning. And for me, that's like a huge one. So those are kind of things that just kickstart my day. And then throughout the day, which I'm not the best at this, which is why I time block, I have to give myself space to like take breaks because, and this might be TMI, but there's days when I'm like, oh, did I pee today? Like I got to keep it moving because my full-time job, I'm in person like 45 hours, 50 hours a week. So it's not remote. So I'm like there at my desk all day. And so just putting little breaks in for myself to make sure that I'm giving myself space to go get a drink of water or to go and do this or do that is helpful. And then I really try to focus on an end of day kind of closeout, which for me, that's like slowing down and washing my face and moisturizing, like common things. But I do have to do them very consciously because some days, like when we get off of this, I usually go to bed around like 9 o'clock. And so we'll be wrapping up around there. And I would love to just conk out into bed, but forcing myself to have my routine because also that starts the next day better. One additional note to that I do at the end of my work day is I slate my day for the next day. So that way mentally I'm ready because if it's a day that I know I don't have space to slow down and like do more attention management and I have to push through, like tomorrow, my day is very meeting heavy, so I can't really shift those. I've already prepared for that tonight to mentally approach that tomorrow. So those are just a couple things that I do throughout the day to kind of help.
Yeah. For me personally, when I do that at night and take the time to schedule out or time block my day for the next day, I sleep better. Or I'm able to go to sleep easier or faster because if not, then I constantly have my mind while I'm laying there. Okay, what do I have? I'm doing it in my head as opposed to just putting it down and then being done with it. So then it's going through my head constantly. Okay, this is all I have to do. Wait, am I forgetting something? Am I forgetting something? I start having all those thoughts and then I can't, it's a lot harder to go to sleep that, or I'm waking up more often because my body is just anxious as opposed to just putting it down and moving on from it. So that's a really big thing.
Okay. 110%. I'm the same way.
Type B person here. So are y'all like physically writing it down? Like, because I know people have nighttime routines. I am still struggling with that. I have a morning routine, but like I hear this a lot. And so y'all are intriguing me in this. So are you physically writing like it down for the next morning or prepping things out for the next day? Or are you just like taking it on your phone or mental note or what?
For me, I write it down. Like in my day job tomorrow, I think I have 4 interviews. So I like created the packets and put the resumes and everything before I left work.
Have it laid out.
And then I like put them in my time block schedule because those are non-negotiables. So to bigger picture answer your question, I approach my week the same way I approach each day. So Sunday, I sit down and I look at my entire week and I put in my non-negotiables first. So like for the littles, I might take her to like gymnastics, and that's on Thursdays. So first I put the core structure in. And I see you, Pamela. I'm like curious how you do it, because you're like type A with me. But I put all the non-negotiables and then I build out from there. So then if I'm like, well, Thursday's a slower like day and it has more freedom to it, that's going to be probably a more creative day for me, because like Wednesday I had back-to-back meetings or whatever the case. So I physically write it out. Now there are times, and Pamela, I love that you brought that up, that I'm laying in bed and I didn't do that. And I'm like, oh, dang, don't forget to do this. Oh, don't forget this. Don't forget this. And then I end up texting myself or emailing myself the list. But then it's just digital.
Yeah. I do. Well, I lay in bed. I'll do mine on my phone. So I'll look at my calendar on my phone, and then I will just do something, whether it's on a notes or something like that. And then the next morning I actually get up and then I'll hand write it down just in case anything comes up, because Lord knows my children love to spring things on me at the very last minute. They love to throw wrenches in my day. Like my daughter called me today and she's like, hey, Mom, I need to go to Walmart after school today because I really need this. And I'm like, you're really going to have to wait until tomorrow, because there is no way I'm shifting what has to get done today. I'm sorry. But so I usually, that's my routine. But as far as how you said scheduling and the non-negotiables, we did a podcast, and I don't remember which one it was, but we discussed this at some point about how important that is when you're trying to schedule out the week, is to schedule in first what is priority. And that's really big and really important, is to put in those things, and everything else works around that. You know, it's that God first, God, family, self-care and work and all of that. And in that order. And that's why it's really, really important to always make sure that you're prioritizing those things and work everything else around that. That's really big for me, or it's becoming, because I used to be very much a workhorse, and it was work and then everything else. Yeah. And so I'm learning to not do that, because I think that's also a lot of where my burnout came from, is that I was taking so much time for work and putting everything else aside. And then I just, one end to the other, one extreme to the other. I'm either go, 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 or I was completely burned out. And that's how I lived for a long time. So I'm trying to stop that and prioritize a lot more.
Oh my goodness. It's funny, Pamela. I don't think I've ever heard someone else say that, but that's how I am. Like, I'm all or I'm nothing. Like if I'm in motion, I'm like going 400 miles an hour and just conquering the world. And if I'm not in motion, I'm like dead on the couch, because like I can't function. And so it's like, I will say too, in this current role that I'm in at my day job, and then I'd cut back on photography and stuff. We just moved, bought a new house, and like did all these things. So we were starting the process back in the winter. So I closed out like my books kind of for a couple months to settle. And when I'd come home on the weekends and have no work to do, I was like, what am I supposed to do with my life? So I end up like, I'd play with my kid and stuff. I'm still a good mom, but I would end up like napping, or I'd like sit there and be like, I feel so lost, like almost like depressed, but not really depressed, but just like, what am I doing? Yeah. And it just like ate me alive. And so now I'm like learning more and more that like, it's okay to have moments of calm. And maybe I read a book during that time. Like I still feel it a little bit, but it's funny because that resonates with me, because I've never really met someone who's like, yeah, I'm all or nothing the same way. So that's neat. Although I don't, I'm sorry that you deal with that too, because it can be very overstimulating on both spectrums, but I do relate to that.
Yeah. It's that I get stir crazy when I don't have a long to-do list for the day. It's, I don't know what to do with myself. And it's like you said, like I have very much so experienced this. I experienced this really hard last year and last July, when I had the same thing happen, is that I moved and it was go, 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 because my work was crazy busy at the time. And we were moving, and, we were redoing the house and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden things just stopped. We were done with the house. We were moved in, settled in. My work kind of started to slow down a little bit. And then it was just, I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I ended up in this like depression, which actually was a great thing for me in a sense, because it actually sparked my thought process of wanting to do something else with my life. And that's where MBS Fit Co came from. But at that time, it was a really, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. It was hard for me because I'm, like I said, I need to be doing something at all times. So it's that for me, again, as well, has just been learning to, like, it's okay to slow down and to just have a relaxing day of just nothing, or just like little things. Like, it's okay to just, sit down and watch a movie, or, to go fishing in the boat and just enjoy it and not have to always be doing something physical. And I'm saying work, and I do mean work, because I do like to work. I truly enjoy, I like to work. I really do. But I just mean doing something in general, right? So if I'm not working, I'm doing something with the kids, or I'm cleaning the house, or I'm cooking, or I'm going grocery shopping, or like I have to be doing something at all times. And so when things just stop and then there's nothing to do, I'm like, it's bedtime. We go to bed. That's when we go to sleep. Day's over. I'm done. And it's so funny. When I first met my in-laws, especially my father-in-law, he tells me whenever I go over there and I'm doing things, even if it's just like a little get together for lunch or whatever, but I usually help out with the birthday parties and stuff. And he's like, slow down, you're speeding. Because I'm always like, everywhere I go, like I'm a fast walker as well. Like, I don't even know how to walk normal. I power walk everywhere I go. And he's like, slow down, or they're always like, Pam, sit down. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm going to go. I'm like, this is me. This is what I do. Like, I don't know how to sit down and be still. If I'm sitting, I'm working, other than that, I'm like this Energizer bunny. And then I wonder why all of a sudden I just burn out and I'm like, I can't function. And I'm like, you wonder why, Pam? I wonder why you can't function, because you don't stop, sit down. So I totally get it.
Such kindred spirits, because I'm the same way. I'm like the one, we go to someone's house and I'm like cutting the cake for them. They're like, you don't have to cut that. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
me.
but someone's got to. Or like the next thing I'm like grabbing the dishes and they're like, you don't have to do the dishes. I'm like, I know I don't have to, but I'm just like over there scrubbing their dishes. They're like, we have a dishwasher. I'm like, okay, I'll load the dishwasher then. But I'm always, my in-laws used to always be like, you're such a busybody, or like you're addicted to like being busy. And I was like, but I'm not. I actually love the productivity. Like maybe I'm addicted to being productive, but like, yeah, I'm always going. And it's funny because my in-laws too, like they'll like sit and just sit, like be together and just sit. And that's a beautiful thing. No shade to it. But I'm like, maybe I should be knitting. Maybe I should like draw. Like what should I be doing while we're sitting here? Like, I try on podcasts not to talk with my hands too much because I don't want to like bang my mic. But even that, like, I'm always just like, as you can see, I'm always moving and doing something. So I'm like, just calm yourself. So I love that, Pamela, because I'm the same.
That's me too. I have a whole nother story about I know you see me. I'm like, I have a whole nother story about the whole hand movements. I'll share it with y'all because it's really funny. When I used to work for the bank years and years and years ago, I'm a hand talker. I'm like that, right? I'll the motions with the hands. And so I was a banker at the time. And so I opened up bank accounts and stuff like that. So I had clients come in, and there's other bankers that sat across from me. And so one day, one of the bankers, a friend of mine, was sitting across, and I'm talking to someone who's sitting in front of me, and I see him in the background with his hands. And I know for you who are listening in on the podcast and not watching, but he's like doing all these crazy hand motions in the air or whatever. And I can see him, and I'm trying not to laugh. And so after the client left, he's like, what's all this that you do while you're talking to your clients? And I'm like, I'm explaining stuff to them. He's like, put your hands down. I'm like, I can't help it. And so I have been told that so many times. And so same, like I've done interviews or talked on video that I try to like put my hands under my legs or like sit on them, because I'm like, if not, they just start going everywhere. I don't know what to do with them.
That's literally what I'm doing.
Put your hands down.
I have mine like in my legs. Away.
That's so funny.
This episode is brought to you by MBS Fit Co. Excitement is in the air at MBS Fit Co. as we prepare for our upcoming launch. We're introducing a line of premium activewear designed to seamlessly fit into both your workout routines and daily life. Our versatile collection is perfect for your workouts and equally suited for your day-to-day tasks, ensuring you look and feel your best, no matter the occasion. It's not just clothing. It's a commitment to self-care and embracing your best self. Be the first to experience the fusion of style, comfort, and functionality. Subscribe to our VIP list and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for insider information and exclusive perks available only on our launch day. Dive into the show notes for all the links you need. MBS Fit Co is more than just activewear. It's a lifestyle. Join our community and be part of our exciting journey from day one to celebrate fitness, self-care, and your hero within. Don't just wear it, live it. All right, now let's dive back into this episode.
Okay, so with all that you do, and I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, but because you said you can't really find time, and you do a lot of the schedule blocking and stuff. But I'm just like, what does a typical day look like for you? Because you have so many different plates, and I'm just still, like I said, I'm just still sitting over here going, I don't know how you do it, because there's just so much. Like, what is a typical day?
Good question. So I will say too, to lead with that, is that I do have team members who help me. So with the business, so we have 3 people who do stuff that I delegate to. So that's a huge help. That is new. We've only had one for the past year or almost 2 years. And then we just expanded. So that's been helpful. But prior to that, I was doing it all and started to realize like it's just not attainable anymore. So that's when I had to start outsourcing some things. And I will also say too, I do outsource our house cleaning. So I have a house cleaner come. And one reason with that is like it's women owned. I love that I can like help her grow her business and then give her referrals and stuff like that. So I do that. So I like to be completely honest when I start the conversation. But as I mentioned earlier, today's kind of a weird day. But today, we got up, we did the kid thing, got them out the door. My husband actually dropped her at school because I was going into I want to say into town, but we're in Virginia. I was going into Baltimore for the photo shoot. And so that took up the majority of the morning. Then I hopped back over to work, did a lot. And then tonight, the focus is obviously this podcast. I ended up staying at work way too late though. And so I rolled straight into this. But on a normal day, I'll get up at like 5 or 5:15, do my routine that we talked about a little bit. And then I usually go into work around 7 and I work 7 to 4. That's my goal most days. And I'll stay late sometimes, more often than not. But again, I'm in a little bit of a pivotal like transitional period because we've been in the new house for 3 weeks. And my old commute was about an hour 15. And so now my new commute is like 25 minutes or less. So I've gained back quite a bit of time. So I'm still trying to like filter and figure that out. But I focus on work when I'm at work. And then I'll come home and I kind of slate the week based on, like we talked about earlier, the non-negotiables. So there's like family time. My husband and I like try to have a date night or a harmony meeting where we can just be together. Ideally without the little, because that can be a lot to try to just like connect with him while she's around. And then things like this. So this would be like a working night for me. So then 2 other nights will be a rest night where we just like watch a movie or read a book. I also it depends on the week, but I'll also go in and block off my schedule. So, before we were recording, I was talking about how we do a lot of guest episodes on my podcast and I batch content. So I'll take like 2 weeks out of a section of 2 months and just record guest episodes every evening. And then we get them produced and sent out. And then I'll block the next 2 months or however long that I don't do any late night recordings. That way I can utilize that time in other areas. So right now I'm not doing my own podcast. I mean, I am, but I'm not recording for it because it's already done. So then I get a backfill with guest episodes like this and stuff. So that's kind of how I approach the day. That's a very like 30,000 foot view answer. And there's times like Mondays are slower at my day job and I work at a private country club, and so we're closed on Mondays, but I'm an admin staff, so I'm there. So sometimes I can squeeze other appointments and stuff in that realm. And then just delegation and outsource really help me get through the day as well.
Yeah. That's
all
awesome.
Good
stuff.
Well, that kind of goes back to the episode we did before too about blocking off that time for you and your spouse or just family time and being able to kind of structure that around and make that the priority. And I think that's so hard too. Like y'all, whenever y'all were talking just about whenever we feel like we have all these things that we want to do or accomplish, that it's kind of hard sometimes to step back from that and be present in the moment whenever we, or even, chunking those moments with our family or with our kids. And so hearing you kind of navigate your day and say, okay, I like how you chunk your things. That way it's not week to week necessarily. You can do things and have that already set out for weeks or months from now. So I think that that's helpful too, to kind of restructure and organize and make sure that all those things are being taken care of so it doesn't take away from your family.
Yeah, and it's so important, and you guys both have spoken to it. Like, the bigger picture is slowing down and writing out or figuring out what your priorities are. And like you said, Pam, like God, well, my would be God, wife, mother, then employee, then business owner. And I guess employee and business owner, it kind of depends on the week. But for the most part, those are both work and they kind of work simultaneously. But you have to like think about that first, almost envision like your core values or what your mission statement for your brand, even if it's your personal brand, so that then you can build out from there. Because I've been the girl on the hamster wheel just running for no reason before. And that's not fulfilling. There's no purpose to that. That's not, as the kids would say, living my best life. That's just spinning my wheels. So really focusing on where you need your time and stuff to go and building outward from there is hugely important.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, over the years, I'm sure that you've had like trials or triumphs that have helped you to get where you are. Is there anything that has been like a major setback or challenge that you've kind of dealt with over the time that you've been just an entrepreneur?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many. It feels like everything. It's fun though, because I feel like I try to think about this often to just like reground myself and remind myself how far I can go because of how far I've come. And sometimes I have to slow down and remember like that was a challenge, or that was a negative thing, but we turned it into a positive. I mean, specifically, I would say there's been times I've had probably in photography 2 pretty bad clients, and not necessarily that they were bad individuals, but like we just didn't jive. And that was like a huge thing. And I learned that like you can just go forward from it and learn the different dynamics and try to work with the person and get the best that you can for them. That's a big one. And the nice thing is it kind of carries over into all aspects of life, because we're going to butt heads with somebody someday, or someone's not going to be satisfied with us when we're giving our best once in a while. And so that's been one. I'm trying to think of others, but I'd be curious to kind of hear some of your guys' experiences as well with that one.
Oh gosh.
I know there's been a whole lifetime.
Yes, a whole lifetime of like trials and just things that like setbacks or what you feel in the moment as a setback. But I love how you said that you often try to take that look back and to just to sit in that of all of the things that happened that at the time you thought were so detrimental, or, they were a setback, or that feeling of, 1 step forward, 4 steps back kind of thing. But then to look at them now and say, had those things not happened, all of these great things wouldn't have come. Or had those things not happened, I wouldn't have learned this, or I wouldn't have grown, because of it. And so I know I'm really big on that, of just, I do that very often, especially when those thoughts start to creep in a negative aspect, right? Is I always try to flip them, because, we all have that imposter syndrome of, you're not good enough, or who do you think you are? And to just take those thoughts when they come and say, no, I can do these things because of that. And to just flip it. It's always about being able to flip something from the negative into the positive, because every negative has a positive. You just have to choose to see it.
Yeah, I feel like it took forever for me to figure that out though. And it's almost like, I think, Pam, you might have asked me this question that, if I could have, or maybe I even mentioned it, if I could tell myself, my past self, what to do, it would literally be that. Like if I could get a hold of some 20-year-old somewhere and tell her, you know, just to anything that happens in your life, if you can flip that, like you said, it's such a powerful mindset to have in every aspect of your life, because I feel like we're all going to have those things that happen. But if you get stuck in it, because I feel like for years I was stuck in the why not this? Why not that? Why is this happening this way? And it doesn't help you grow in the aspects of the life that you even want to go in. You get stuck in this mindset of, okay, it's just not happening for me, or this isn't meant for me. And you miss out on those big opportunities in life because you literally just think that it's not happening for you. And so I think, unfortunately, it's taken me almost 40 years to figure out that it is such a small thing as a mindset that can literally flip it around and you be able to do the big things, because you're like, okay, well, this is just a next step for this, or this is just going to help me grow in this area. And it's just something that's so powerful, but so small that like a lot of people just don't think of.
Yeah, it's huge. And I think you have to think of it like, I think a lot of people be like, oh, and that door was closed in my face. And like, now what do I do? But you have to have, well, what did that protect me from? And what does that lead me to? Because like, I mean, even in the house buying process recently, we put an offer on one house and like a day later they were like, nope, we're taking somebody else's. And then now, I mean, I can't say that was like a bad house. I think it was a cute, nice house. But now I'm in like a different house and I wouldn't have known that in that moment. I just felt a little defeated and was like, well, that's a bummer. Now we're still back at the market trying to figure this out. And same with like so many different business endeavors. Like if I've tried like newborn photography and I was fine. I'm usually pretty good at whatever I apply myself to. It takes work, but like I'm there. But like I don't think I'd be the same person I am today if I was always doing newborn photography, or if I said no to some of those challenges that I was faced with in business, because they've built me to who I am. And that's also made me a kind, caring, loving mother exponentially comparatively to maybe what I would have been. And I think just slowing down. And the other thing too is like how far we've come and what that looks like. I think I'm not actually a runner, but I like using running analogies. But like people will get caught up in like you're running a marathon, but you have to do those first 2, first 3, first 4 miles to get to the 26. Like everything leads us to where we are. And I think that's so impactful and hard to remember at times, especially because like I used to be a self-identifying pessimist. So I was always like that's one reason why I feel like I was very successful in my careers, was because like on a wedding day when I'm photographing your wedding, I'm thinking about the worst case scenarios all the time. And so I'm always prepared with a contingency plan. But now I realize that most of those worst case scenarios don't come true and something better comes up. So just shifting that mindset, like you said, Mandy, is so important. And as simple as it is, it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
It is. Rejection is God's protection. You said that earlier, that it's protection is, what is it protecting you from? Rejection is God protection. And it's you thinking to yourself, God is telling me that I was not rejected, that he is protecting me because there is something that is better that is going to come. And as a mortgage lender myself, that is my full-time job. I have told clients that over and over and over again. It is something that I tell people every time they come to me and they miss out on a house for one reason or another, and they're so defeated. I'm like, there is a reason why this house was not meant for you. It's because the house that is meant for you is just not on the market yet, or you didn't go see it yet, or whatever the case may be. So I totally understand that. So how the heck do you stay? Well, I'm going to ask you this, and I'm like, how the heck do you stay motivated to do all the things? But then again, we've also discussed already that you're like me, like super type A personality. And I'm like, I don't really need a whole lot of motivation because I just want to go and do. But I also do know that there are the days where I'm just like totally unmotivated, right? Like I have an entire list of things to do for the day, and I have like nothing to give. Like that was almost me. Like this morning I woke up and I was just not feeling it. I did not feel good. I had like a massive headache, and I knew I had Tuesdays are my days that are just always chaos, always. So I was like, man. And so it took everything in me. And for me, I drank my pre-workout and I got a workout in, and I was like, okay, let's go. I can do this now. That's what it is for me. So what is it? How do you keep yourself motivated on those days when you're just like, yeah, no, I'm not feeling it?
That's tricky because I think it depends on the day, but it depends on the energy level too. Because if I'm like not motivated because I'm tired or feeling burned out, it's very different than if I'm just aloof, I guess. Yesterday was kind of my brain fog day, and I was like, it was a day I could get so much done, but I was just coming off a long weekend, and I knew I was going into like a long week ahead. So I was just like, just get the bare bones done. But I find that similar maybe to working out, or at least for me, is like, okay, I need to work out. But once I get on my bike, or I get on the treadmill and I start running, I'm more of a machine sort of gal, which I know real runners are totally against, so forgive me. But once I get going, that's so helpful for me because, again, once I'm in motion, it keeps me in motion a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's big for me. Another one, and I recently covered it on my own podcast, was inspiration leading to motivation, slowing down and giving myself the space to be inspired. So if that means I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, this is not working today, whether that's my home desk or at work, I'll get up and walk around. And so sometimes for me, talk therapy is huge to like come up with brilliant ideas, to think of ways to like restructure or reorganize something. So at work, I'm able to get up and go interact with somebody. If I'm not at work, or it's something like if it was an evening like this and I'm trying to do content for the podcast or the business, I'll try to jump in somebody's DMs and just kind of like feed off them and have conversation to get the inspiration flowing. So for me, that's kind of my tactic right now, is inspiration leading to motivation, because I think it's my body telling me I'm just like spread a little thin at times when I find myself like you were, Pam, where it's just like, it's going to be a chaotic day and I don't have the energy for it. I don't have the motivation to get anything done. So that's how I approach it. And then sometimes you just have to slow down and be like, nope, today's not the day, and we're not going to find the motivation. So we're in survival mode, make sure everyone's fed and everyone makes it to bed.
And
okay.
We're alive.
Right. The only checkbox today is make it through the day.
Yeah.
Check. I did it. So I love two things that you said. So because you just validated, because I am the person who I preach working out to people all the time. And I'm like, it's not about the physical, right? That is not the number one reason why I work out. Because a lot of people seem to think, oh, you just like to work out. It's, it's a physical thing. And I'm like, it's not, you don't understand. I have to work out because it is how I function. And so, because it's very true. And just like I did this morning, like when I tell you I had no energy. I did not want to do today at all. And when I went and did my workout, that is just it. To move your body is everything. It changes your mindset. It changes your energy levels. It changes everything. And a lot of people are like, because did it take everything in me to make myself go work out? Yes. Because once again, I didn't have any energy. I didn't want to do anything but go lay down in my bed. After I dropped my kids off, I seriously contemplated coming home and taking a nap. I really did. And I was like, no, like you can't do that because I have so much to do today. So I forced myself to go work out. But after that, I was good to go, and then I've never heard anyone explain it the way that you did, but I like that, the inspiration to motivation. It's something that I need to do better at during the day, of learning when to just be like, okay, I need to step away, because I get that, right? You get like these mental blocks, or just like these moments of things just aren't in flow anymore. And so I notice it every day without fail. When I leave my laptop and go get my kids, I text Mandy all the time. I'm like, my brain's going. I'm in my car and I'm driving. And it's just because I stepped away from my laptop, all of a sudden, all of these great ideas and all of these things start coming to me. And I'm like, I'm voice texting her while I'm driving and like saving them to notes and stuff. All these voice messages that I'm sending, because I'm like, I have all these things, and it's literally just because I stepped away. And I need to be better about that during the day, in the middle of the day, like just to give myself those moments to say, just walk away when I'm trying to work on something or think of something, and just give myself that time for my brain to recoup, I guess, or to just be able to just open up space, I guess, for myself. So I love the way that the
I know.
inspiration to motivation. I love that phrase to say it that way.
Yeah. One other thing that I do at my day job that is along those same lines, and it sounds cheesy, but I like to draw. Like I do hand illustrations. And so I'll like, if I'm overwhelmed or I'm foggy or I'm just like, I don't want to do this right now, I have small little pieces of paper that are probably like, I don't know, I want to say like 3x3, and I'll draw a flower and just spend a few minutes because then my hands are still engaged, but my brain gets a break and I still feel like I'm doing something, going back to like needing to be in motion, I guess. And that kind of gives my brain space, kind of like you're talking about, I think, because I find that I'm super creative in the shower. Like I think everybody or most people have like these crazy shower thoughts. And it's really because we're just completely unplugged in that moment. Like we're not plugged in, we're not engaged. Maybe there's children screaming, but otherwise like we're able to do that. And same with driving. I'll find a lot of my creativity comes when I'm driving. I'll be like, oh, that's such a good idea, or oh, I should do this, or I need to make that. And it's because like we're not distracted, I think. And so for
It's great, but
me,
it's the worst time as well because I'm like,
yes.
why does this have to happen while I'm driving and I can't write it all down? So that's why I send voice messages and I save them. Because I'm like,
She's
gosh,
like,
this is all
hey,
so great.
I'm driving. This is going to be like a 4-minute message, but just hear me out. This is what I have to say. I'm like, okay, what do you got?
Well, and then it gets like, Mandy, like, how do you feel when you get those? Like, does it like
I
inspire
love it.
you and
Yeah,
keep you
I love
going?
it. Because I'm a teacher, so I've got chunks of time all throughout the day. So she's sending them. So whenever I'm on my like in between groups or doing whatever I'm doing, and it triggers me to, once I do have time cut out on things that we need to look at or different ideas that we're thinking of. And so we kind of play off of each other throughout the day in the pieces of time that we have. And in that way, like when we can sit down and talk, then we can kind of go through everything that was talked about. So, and for me, it's in the morning. I always am like listening to something, a podcast or something while I'm working out. And that's kind of my time too, to kind of get all my thoughts together and then go write it down if I need to, or I'll leave notes in my phone too of just different things that I need to talk to her about, or just, in general. So it definitely is just something that you have to have that time where you're not necessarily connected to your phone or your kids or your family. And it's just that time for yourself to just get your thoughts all in one place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure.
Well, I know I kind of went and I mentioned something about telling my 20-year-old self something. Is there anything that you wish you would have known earlier in life, or something that if you could tell your younger self that you wish you would have known at this point in your life?
Yeah. Yeah. There is something very specific to that. And for me, I found it out during motherhood, but I think it's applicable in other areas of life too, is that everything is a chapter or everything is a phase. And it sounds silly when I say it like that, but in perspective of my child, the newborn phase, and we talked about a little bit in the sense of like it was survival mode. Like when my husband got home from work, I'm like, hey, we're both alive.
Here.
What more do you want?
Take
here's
the
your child.
child.
Literally. There was actually a couple days that I would just like roll into his work and just be like, hey, we're just going to be with you today because we're not functioning on our own. And
I'm not doing it by myself.
this is what it's going to be. And, there were some times right after I had her, and she was born in December, and then COVID hit that following spring or later. So there were some times that it was just like, how am I going to do this? Like, I can't even go to the grocery store. Like, I'm a new mom. I'm already like kind of sort of a germaphobe. And then now I can't go out in public because there's like this world pandemic. And so that was like so much. And so what I learned during that phase of my life was that like my biggest fear was also my biggest saving grace. And it was that every day is a new day. So I absolutely love my daughter. She is wonderful. But there were days when I'm like, how am I going to do this? Like, if I can't handle you right now at 4 weeks old, how are we going to get to 18 years old? Like, how are we going to get there? How are we going to get there? And I'm such a type A planner and always thinking about the future that was so overwhelming. And so my biggest saving grace was that tomorrow's a new day. Like if I mess up today, as long as we're both alive, then there's tomorrow. And so I've kind of realized that with business too. Like I said earlier, like some of the challenges are you'll get a client that maybe you don't vibe with perfectly, or maybe you didn't meet their expectations, but it's not an end all. You can either, if it's photography, you can go back and reshoot it. If it's a workout or whatever, you can go back and do it again. Like it's never an end all. And I think those lessons have carried through now. My daughter will be 5 this year. So I've been really thriving with that. And then even in the house buying thing, like I put a pause on all of our business for the last couple of months, and now we're starting to vamp back up. And then anytime I come to like a busy season in work, it's like, this is just a season. It's a new day. It doesn't end. And that alleviates so many fears that I have, like the claustrophobia of like, what are we going to do? Like, so transparency, we bought this house, but we kept our old house. So right now we have 2 mortgages, and we're getting the old house prepped and ready to go so we can rent it because we wanted to invest in real estate. And I'm so excited about that. But there's moments when I'm like, okay, I have 2 mortgages this month. And I also have 4 months of dry books because I closed them. Like, so I'm not even having that extra income. And then I'm like, my husband and I were like running the bills and how much we have to pay by the end of next month or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be broke. And he's like, Katy, we're still getting paid. Like there's still money coming in. Like it's not an end all be all. But for me, that's also my saving grace that like there is a new day. There is all that. And again, super long winded with that, but it helped me so much in motherhood. But I think that if I could have went back 10 years earlier and realized that and applied that in business, in friendships, in life, I would have realized like, you know, maybe Mandy today I didn't say the exact right thing, but I can come back tomorrow afresh and anew and like really reinvest in that and refocus. And again, it's also the same with like my to-do list. Like if I don't get through it today, there's tomorrow. I can't tell you how many times, like not so much in my current position, but years before, I would literally be upset and stay at work until my to-do list was done for like no reason except for to finish it. And I'm like, you're crazy. And now I tell my team members and other managers that I help with, I'll be like, it'll be there tomorrow. And then it goes back to the whole priorities we talked about and all of that. So that would be my biggest thing. And you're a lot more gracious than I am because you're like, oh, I'd tell my younger self that. I would like pick that girl up and I'd shake her. I'd be like, you hear me. Listen, it's going to be okay. Yeah. And the last thing I'll end on with that one is there's like this meme going around or whatever kids call them. And it's like, sorry, I freaked out. I totally forgot that everything was going to work out, even though it always has. And that's me. Like, thankfully now when I start to spiral, I'm like, you've gotten to this point in your life and you've done so many things. You're going to do this. And then that goes back to the marathon. You got to mile 4, you can get to mile 5 and you can get to mile 6 and you can just keep going.
I love everything is going to be okay. And that's what I have to say to myself often. And I say to other people and my children when they come to me and they're freaking out, is that it's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. And giving yourself grace is a big thing too. And then in the moments of not being able to get all the things on the to-do list checked off, I know that that's really big for me as well. And then like you said too, just knowing that there is tomorrow. But what I did notice that you said is that it's recognizing it, right? Recognizing that you didn't get it all done or you screwed up, and acknowledging it and recognizing it and fixing it was another thing that you said. If it's something that you did wrong or you feel whatever, whether it's redoing it or needing to apologize to someone or doing whatever you need to do to clear your conscience and to know that you feel better about the mistake. And tomorrow's a new day and I'm going to start over and be better or do better, whatever the next day. Yeah. So I love that so much. So you talked a little bit about your podcast. You didn't say the name of it. So you'll have to let the listeners know what your podcast is. And if you do have any other favorite podcasts, because we're podcast junkies. So we talk about other people's podcasts quite often on here. And then we also like that we talk a lot about books too. So and I actually saw them all on your website and took a picture of them, your favorite books. 2 of them have already been recommended to me that I have not read yet. So I'm definitely going to be reading those. But let the listeners in on your favorite books and podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will do a shameless plug. Ginger Biz is my podcast. So GIGERBIZ. I'm a ginger. I do like it, but in full transparency, I don't really listen to it. In fact, I've listened to like 5 episodes. I don't usually like cross the same path twice. I'm just like a weirdo, so I don't listen. But the other one I love is Jenna Kutcher's Gold Digger podcast. That's a huge one. I've been a listener since the beginning. I love that.
Us too.
I listen to like Amy Porterfield's and Jasmine Starr's, but if I had to pick a favorite, it'd definitely be Jenna's. And then outside of the entrepreneur spectrum, I really like Crime Junkie, and I like a lot of like true crimes. Do you listen to?
Yes,
to
all
them?
the time.
That was like last year was my biggest because I only was introduced to them last August, and I've literally listened to every episode.
Did you binge them?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what I do.
Yep. And there's some days when I have to like not today, because you're like unlocking your door and thinking someone's going to kill you. So let's just slow down.
Well, my husband was deployed whenever I was introduced to them. So it definitely was not a good time to be listening to Crime Junkies for 9 months.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that would be no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't survive. But that's my other favorite. And then for books, I'm curious which 2 were recommended to you, but I like a new one that I really like is The Unreasonable Hospitality. That's a big one. I work in hospitality, so that was huge, but I love that so much of it and so many entrepreneurs and business owners are reading it now because there's so much tangible things to take from it. Believe It is another one by Jamie Lima Kern. And then also How Are You Really by Jenna Kutcher is one of them. And then I like, have you read them at all yet?
No, I'm reading Worthy right now. Jamie's new one that just came out. So Believe It was that one's been recommended, and the How Are You Really has been recommended as well. I actually think I might have heard that on Rachel Hollis's podcast, maybe.
Oh, I loved Girl Wash Your Face. That was a good one too.
Yeah. Good books.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good. In fact, that one, I remember I was reading on an airplane and I had like this epiphany about imposter syndrome when I was reading it. So that's a really good one too. I love books too. Another one is Deep Work by Cal Newton. That's a really good one. And that is, have you read that one, Pam?
No, but I saw it on your list.
Okay. Mandy, not to seclude you, but I feel like
you're fine.
the type A personality with Cal Newton is the way that he does the deep work just like struck a chord with me. And so that's kind of sort of like time blocking, but a different style. So that was a good one. But yeah, those would be my favorite, but I could go on and on because I love books.
Yeah. Well, I need book recommendations right now because I'm just started the 75 hard. Mandy's doing 75 soft. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I'll have to be doing at minimum 10 pages of reading per day. So as soon as I'm done with Worthy, I'm reading the 75 hard mental toughness book. And then I'm definitely going to move on to one of those for sure. Cause those have been on 2 of those anyway, have been on my list for a while. So I'm curious to get some more books in. Cause I've been doing, go ahead.
If you want, like, I would suggest reading Believe It next, just because How Are You Really? She's got like, it's more interactive. Whereas like, I would say Believe It's more inspirational. So it'd be kind of a lot that's just my opinion though. Like Jenna wants you to engage and like there's activities and like assignments almost. Yeah. To some degree. Whereas Believe It's like, you're just like, dude, if she could do this from her living room and she can get through that and like hear all the, challenges that she faces, it just keeps you moving. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, good deal. I'll definitely take that.
Well, we always ask, like, if there is a piece of life advice that you would want to share with our listeners and just kind of leave us with something inspirational that's helped you along the way.
Yeah, I think we honestly covered most of them, but I would love to reiterate just giving yourself grace. I think that's such a pivotal thing to do because it applies to everything we talked about, right? You have to give yourself grace to get to the next day. You have to give yourself grace when you need to slow down. You have to give yourself grace when you need to speed up. And going back to the open and closed doors and just having a positive mindset is so, so powerful. And I would almost say, like, get out of your own head and try to do it as early as possible because it used to literally be in my About Me section on my website that I was a pessimist. And then I realized, like, but I don't have to be one. I can choose to change that. And so giving myself grace while I'm working through those transitions. And also, we talked a little bit about challenges that you face. And I would say switching your mindset to not see it as a failure, but to see it as a pivot. I've pivoted away from so many things now that I'm a mother, now that I fell in love with my job and I want to do that, and I'm not looking to change that. But that doesn't mean that I'm failing on any other fronts.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I didn't mention was I was medically separated from the military. And at the time, that was a huge failure for me. Like, I thought, like, I wanted to retire in here. Like, I had given my all to them, and this is where I'm at. And then I realized, like, I probably wouldn't have my daughter now, like, because that was before her and stuff.
Yeah.
And so just the common theme in it is just changing that mindset and changing it for the better, because it's not a failure. It's brought us to where we are today. It's pivotal, and that's okay. So just give yourself grace on any and every platform. And I think that that's a good starting point. That's probably my biggest thing. And don't beat yourself up. Again, just give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Yes. I love all of that so much. Katy, this has been such a great interview. I think that we are going to have a lot of listeners have something to take away from this, because you covered a few things. I know that there are a lot of people like us that are just, busybodies, or just moms out there who just have busy schedules in general. I know Mandy's schedule's crazy because her kids have several things, multiple days of the week. So she's always on the run. As soon as she gets off, it's just go, go, go. And so I know that, there's a lot of people out there who have those busy lifestyles, or a lot of people out there who struggle with mindset and just trying to see stuff from a positive standpoint. So I think this is going to be great for a lot of our listeners. So thank you again so much for coming and chatting with us today. We appreciate you more than you know. And if you're listening and this podcast episode resonated with you, or if you have a friend that you know that needs to hear it, share it. And this is a free podcast. We don't do any monetization or charge for it. All that we ask is, if you're listening and you liked this episode today, please leave us a review and share the episode. That's all we ask, to help us to be able to help more women. That's what we're here to do, is to help people. I know that Katy's really big on that too. That is what she likes to do as well. We're just love to lift people up. So with that being said, Katy, tell me, what does the woman beyond the cape mean to you?
I think it means that the heart behind it, like, take away all the frills, take away everything, and just the heart and the passion and the love, and break it down without makeup, without, all the identities. And it's just love. I think that's kind of what it means to me.
To love yourself
that.
as
I
you
know.
are.
Yeah.
I
Yep,
really love that.
exactly.
No one has
I
ever
know.
said that before.
I know.
And I love
And
that.
more women need to feel that, because I feel like we're always trying to be perceived or be viewed a certain way, but we always forget who that is. Uncovered, I guess, is the word that came to mind.
Yeah. You both said it very well. Just love yourself and love that woman, and uncover it. Let it be real, raw, and authentic, without all the other things that weigh us down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Well, that wraps up our episode today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, you are strong, you are capable, and you are worthy. We love you, and we're endlessly rooting for you. We'll chat soon.
Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Finding My Best Self. It's been real. It's been fun. We hope you found a piece of your story in ours and feel a little more inspired to chase after your best self.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who needs a little boost today, or a good laugh. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode.
Nothing says owning your confidence like a new outfit from MBS Fit Co. Check out the show notes for the link to shop our luxury athleisure. Go ahead, girl. Treat yourself.
And if you've got a story to share or a topic you're dying for us to cover, drop us a line. Our email is in the show notes. Just reach out and let's keep the conversation going.
So until next time, keep owning your confidence, embracing the chaos, and remember, the best version of you is just an episode away.
And again, we love you and we're endlessly rooting for you.